the United States Navy has dramatically escalated its campaign of economic and maritime pressure against Iran, extending its reach deep into the Indian Ocean and seizing millions of barrels of Iranian crude oil in a series of operations that Washington says are fully authorized under United States law and consistent with its broader strategy of dismantling Iran's ability to fund its military and its network of proxy forces across the Middle East. The moves represent a significant expansion of the conflict beyond the Strait of Hormuz, and they are drawing fierce condemnation from Tehran, which has responded with its own wave of ship seizures and a formal complaint to the United Nations Security Council. On April 23rd, a U.S. official confirmed that the United States Navy had seized a tanker in the Indian Ocean carrying approximately 2 million barrels of Iranian crude oil. The vessel, identified in reports as the Pawnee, was intercepted and taken under American military control in accordance with a warrant issued by the United States Department of Justice. The operation was confirmed publicly the following day, April 24th, by U.S. official Atani, who announced the seizure through official channels and emphasized that all actions taken were fully compliant with existing legal frameworks governing sanctions enforcement on the high seas. This was not the first such operation. Earlier in the same month, U.S. forces announced the seizure of a second vessel, identified as the Mount 1D, also acting on a Department of Justice warrant and also located in the Indian Ocean. That ship was carrying approximately 1 million barrels of Iranian crude oil. Combined, the two recent seizures account for nearly 3 million barrels of Iranian oil removed from international markets, oil that, had it reached its destination, would have generated tens of millions of dollars in revenue for the Iranian government and its military apparatus. Pirro confirmed that the United States is actively monitoring and tracking the movement of vessels suspected of carrying Iranian oil, with particular focus on ships that appear on the Department of Defense sanctions list and those believed to be providing material support to what Washington characterizes as a terrorist-supporting regime. Her message was unambiguous. Iranian oil shipments, wherever they occur and on whatever vessel they travel, are subject to American enforcement action. President Donald Trump made the scope of American ambitions in the region explicit on April 23, the same day the latest tanker seizure was confirmed. Speaking directly and without diplomatic hedging, Trump announced that the United States Navy is now in complete control of the seas in the Middle East. He declared that the Strait of Hormuz is being actively managed by American naval forces, and that any ship from any country suspected of carrying Iranian mines or having any ties to Iranian military operations will be targeted and destroyed. Trump's warning extended beyond Iranian vessels. He made clear that ships of any nationality, if suspected of connection to Iran's military operations, are subject to American The message was directed not just at Tehran but at every nation whose commercial shipping passes through waters now effectively under American naval authority. The president also addressed Iran's use of mines as a tactical weapon in the Strait of Hormuz, warning that any vessel suspected of carrying or deploying mines in the Gulf of Oman will be destroyed without hesitation. This represents a significant escalation in the rules of engagement, effectively authorizing the destruction of vessels on the basis of suspicion rather than confirmed hostile action. Trump framed the totality of American naval operations in the region as a response to decades of Iranian aggression against Gulf states, noting that countries including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Kuwait have lived under the persistent threat of Iranian missiles and drone attacks for years. American military bases in those countries have been within range of Iranian weapons throughout that period, yet Washington chose, during the initial 40 days of the current conflict, to launch its strikes from warships and from facilities in several European nations rather than from Gulf state territory, sparing its regional partners from direct Iranian retaliation. Iran's response to the American seizures has been swift, defiant, and in at least one respect, symmetrical. Tehran has formally condemned the American tanker seizures as the most illegal acts committed on the high seas in recent memory, a flagrant violation of international maritime law that Tehran argues has no basis in any recognized legal framework. Iran has dispatched a formal letter to the United Nations Security Council demanding that the international body take action against the United States for what it characterizes as state-sponsored piracy. But Iran has not stopped at diplomatic protests. In an act of direct retaliation, Iranian Revolutionary Guard naval forces operating fast attack boats equipped with weapons have seized at least 3 commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Critically, the ships seized by Iran were not American vessels. They were commercial ships belonging to third-party nations transiting the strait, flagged by countries that have no direct involvement in the US-Iran confrontation. Iranian forces fired warning shots before boarding these vessels and escorted them to Iranian coastal waters. The message from Tehran is clear. If the United States seizes Iranian ships on the high seas, Iran will seize the ships of other nations in waters it controls. It is a strategy of asymmetric retaliation designed to impose costs not primarily on the United States, which has limited commercial shipping in the region, but on the broader international community, making the economic pain of the conflict impossible to contain within the boundaries of a bilateral dispute. The tactic carries significant risks. India has already protested the seizure of Indian-flagged vessels. Other nations with commercial shipping in the region are watching with alarm, and the broader international community faces a growing and deeply uncomfortable question: whether to accept the disruption as a cost of the conflict or to take active steps to protect their own vessels and waters that 2 rival military powers are now treating as contested territory. The United States continues to expand its naval presence across the broader Middle East theater, extending well beyond the Strait of Hormuz into the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and now deep into the Indian Ocean. 3 major carrier strike groups are currently deployed across the region. The USS Ararat Carrier Strike Group is operating in the Red Sea as part of the Gulf of Aden operational framework. The USS Howard is deployed in the Strait of Hormuz operational zone, and the United States Navy is currently routing a submarine, the Chavez, through the Mediterranean Sea toward the Indian Ocean, further expanding the geographic reach of American naval power in and around the conflict zone. The deployment of a submarine to the Indian Ocean carries particular strategic significance. Submarines give the United States Navy a covert, persistent presence in waters far from the primary conflict zone, capable of monitoring Iranian oil tanker movements, interdicting vessels, and if necessary, conducting strike operations against maritime targets without warning. The message to Tehran is that American naval reach is not limited to the waters immediately surrounding the Strait of Hormuz. It extends across every ocean through which Iranian oil might travel. American Central Command has also reiterated that any vessel on the Department of Defense sanctions list and any ship suspected of carrying weapons, explosives, or mines is subject to being boarded, seized, or sunk. The rules of engagement governing American naval operations in the region are now the most expansive and the most aggressive they have been at any point in the current conflict. Despite the overwhelming display of American naval power, the seizures, the deployments, the explicit presidential warnings, the fundamental strategic impasse between Washington and Tehran remains unresolved. Iran has refused to return to the negotiating table under what it characterizes as conditions of military coercion. It has rejected American demands, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, the abandonment of its nuclear program, the cessation of support for proxy forces as conditions of surrender rather than the basis for genuine negotiation. And it has demonstrated through its own retaliatory ship seizures and its continued defiance of American ultimatums, that it is not prepared to capitulate simply because the United States has deployed superior military force. Washington, for its part, appears to be operating on the premise that sustained economic pressure, the destruction of Iranian naval capacity, the seizure of Iranian oil shipments, the strangling of Iranian energy revenues will eventually force Tehran to the table on American terms. It is a strategy that has a certain internal logic, but it also has a fundamental vulnerability. It assumes that the Iranian government's tolerance for economic pain and military degradation has a limit that American pressure can reach before the broader consequences of the conflict: rising oil prices, disrupted shipping lanes, regional instability, and the involvement of third-party nations become unmanageable for Washington itself. The seizure of nearly 3 million barrels of Iranian oil in the Indian Ocean is a significant tactical victory for the United States. The question of whether it brings a strategic resolution any closer remains, as of this moment, deeply uncertain.